you guys doing? What's up, YouTube? Hey, by the way, if you're new to I just want to say and if not, yeah, appreciate it a lot. We are waiting on Josh and Jonny. But I'm excited. We, I feel like last is like technically speaking, with all due respect. Major League Soccer and golf and whatever else. This is kind of a dead period of sports. I mean, there's no NFL. There's no NBA. This is kind of the dead period of sports, but last time we didn't have it. Because this time last year, we had the Olympics. So because of that, I felt like last year we didn't have to try and stretch too much content. And I don't think we have to now. But we didn't have... I feel like we didn't have very many opportunities to talk about topics like we're talking tonight. Tonight, obviously, we're talking title. You can tell from the thumbnail that we are ranking our top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL this season. So I'm excited for that because I'm excited to get into a discussion. Maybe we'll have some debate about it. I don't know, but see. So it'll be good. And obviously we're going to talk about the DeShaun Watson stuff. That news coming out today. We've got plenty of thoughts on that, as do most people. We'll be sharing that too. And then on Thursday we have actual football video. We've got the first preseason game. We have the Hall of Fame game between the Ravens and not the Ravens, the Jaguars and the Raiders and Ohio. So that's happening. So that's what we're talking about tonight. So yeah. Anyways, that's what's going on. So, hope you guys are doing well. Again, if you are a new subscriber to the channel, I just want to say thank you for doing that. So, thanks again. Josh, what's up? Not bad. Doing all right? The Reds are making more trades, so that's fun. So our good buddy, well, let's call it, we're talking, he was a best before. Our good buddy Hembo tweeted out yesterday. This I can't get over this stat. This has been kind of in my head. Bill Russell played 21 career football games. Combined college, NBA, the Olympics. He went 21 in college. He better take all of this. That man was relentless. 10, and honestly, I'm just reading these things. 10 of those were NBA game sevens. In them, he played all but 7 of the 495 minutes and averaged 29 rebounds a game. Wow, like that's insane. So, anyways, wow. Johnny, what's up?
Hey guys,
how you doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
Happy birthday!
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, everything's going on today. Happy birthday!
Yeah, Josh. Sorry about your all your situation. That's no fun at all.
Oh my goodness. Happy birthday! How's it feel to be 90?
Feels like I'm 90. What's up?
Hey, you're a homeowner. Listen, homeowner now. Like,
You are 90.
Yeah.
You bought a house. It's over.
how many times have you been to Home Depot?
You know, we're a Lowe's family here, but
Oh, that's right.
but
Sorry,
all
you're
of
Lowe's.
how dare you? I'm not really. My parents always went to Lowe's. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a thing. Like, you always.
My parents always went to Lowe's.
Yeah, Josh, what you're.
I honestly feel like
Probably they're a good Baptist thing.
we're a good Baptist. Listen, we subscribed to that one AFL channel that said boycott Home Depot 10 years ago, so, and we did. So
that's why they're still in business and thriving.
yes. I'm trying to remember. We honestly, I feel like we went to both. We would go to Lowe's for lumber,
Okay.
and I feel like Dad would find deals at Home Depot. So
Yeah.
it just kind of depends. Never Ace.
Oh yeah.
Because why? There's just nothing else. So.
Yeah. That's most.
That's most basic, yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I was telling the good folks. I don't know if you didn't have a chance to get that rest.
I have two.
You've got two. That'll work.
One's real and one's a joke.
Good. That's helpful.
In reality, they're both
One's real and one's a joke.
I'm excited for you.
like but that's okay. For some reason, I originally read your text as of all time.
That
Which
might
is
have
fine.
been
I didn't. No, you're fine. No, you're fine. When I looked at the article, all of them were like for the season, which makes
Yeah,
sense.
so that's
And I didn't do the pre-pro anyway, so ultimately didn't matter. No, I have some thoughts. I'll be able to get some stuff up. I just won't be able to give the same level of insight that you guys
that's
have. But
okay.
I have some top 10s.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And even like, you may need to just be mediator between me and Johnny, depending on how.
And honestly,
how
this could
different
be
our lists
fun.
are. I love the fact that we don't know what's on here.
I kind of like this, where I can be like, I'll be the show man.
Yeah.
I'll be the guy who's like, I'll be the one that's the proposal and the thing.
Are we going to talk about DeShaun Watson and all the quick hitters on any of these MLB trades? Josh Hader that's a stupid, crazy trade.
Did you see what
That
the
one-
Braves did? They signed Austin Riley for a discount. Oh my gosh.
The Braves are basically like, we're keeping everyone.
Well, and
So-
but they've been able to because of like that's a steal. Like this man's an MVP candidate every year. People don't know him because his name's not Ronald Acuna, his name's not Mookie Betts, but like he's probably one of the most underrated players in baseball.
Oh wow!
And the Braves
People
that's
sign
a
them really
steal.
early too. You know, like
That's not bad at all.
like they've been so good. I think almost at like even Acuna, like almost signing the player before the player knows his own worth, which is kind of insane to say, but it's kind of true. And then by the time, I think that's what the Nationals are trying to do, and I think it was almost just a little too late to try to pull that off.
Well, what we can do, like, I'm down. I feel like I don't want to spend too much time with DeShaun Watson just because everyone is, but it's also worth saying.
I feel like we have to mention something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna update my outcomes of what I think predicted records are now that we're in training camp. Right. I mean, that suspension's still not locked in stone, but
It's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
So yeah, depending on how long we have left in the episode, once we get through those two things, I was gonna just mention the Reds trade, and if we end up having time, then we can just jump into that first, and we can do some quick hits on the MLB trades. If not, then we can just real quick hit for what I'm calling it. We call it the Reds slash. Oh, good.
Yeah, that was always my thought. I mean, it broke a bunch of records. A nice positive thing.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
It was such a good trip.
Okay, I'm
I literally was a couple minutes late because
nice. I'm starting to I finished all my templates, so now I have 2 weeks to write all of them. But the templates are done. So.
I'm on Oklahoma State and Notre Dame right now, so
Oh, nice.
kind of watching through the games for Notre Dame actually did something. You know?
Tough schedule for this year.
Yeah, it's a much tougher, but I looked over their schedule last year, and it's kind of just making up for it because last year's schedule, well, it's not like they tried to have an easy schedule. I mean, part of it's just like USC's way better this year, or at least should be way better this year. Right. So.
Yes.
All right.
I am good. I was just writing down a couple notes before I forgot them because
Yes.
I just had a tweet.
This is behind the scenes for the YouTube paywall. This is like behind the scenes notes that I'm working through for this top 10. By the way, you'll notice on this side that I just have scribbles for where I'm ranking people. This is 10 minutes before the show and I'm rethinking everything. So
right, exactly.
That's the sign of a good top 10 when you are rethinking everything. So anyways,
you're open to change.
That's right. I do my best.
Healthy.
Yeah. All right, I will start my recording. Check.
Oh, yes, should do that.
All right, let's go. Let's do this.
All right, sweet.
There it is.
Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I am joined once again by my good friends Josh and Jonny. Guys, we are back with another episode. It's episode 73. It's good to see you guys again. Good to be back. And it's interesting. This is kind of the dead period in sports, if you will. With all due respect to Major League Baseball and golf and tennis and all these things that are still going on.
There's sports
right now.
at all going on.
Yeah. But it's the quote unquote dead period. Last summer we did not have that because this time last year we had the Olympics. So that gives us a chance to have a fun conversation about the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL heading into 2022. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We've got some other news to talk about, but before we do that, Josh, what's up, man? How was your week?
I'm in an apartment building, and every apartment if you didn't know this, has doors. Now, my apartment is really unique.
More doors than wheels?
No. We have a parking lot. No, wait, hold on. More doors than wheels, What do we count? Nope, we're not doing this. We already discussed this. Our doors are really unique, at least in Texas. I believe they are the loudest doors in the world, which is really cool. And so hopefully you're not hearing the absolute slamming that's going on behind me, but I love apartments and I love people who have loud doors. And so my week's been going great. We have some lovely doors here, but if we want a second take of what's really going on, my week's been good. I am just finishing up my summer classes this next week.
Very
got
nice.
a promotion at my job, so I've been working putting a lot of those extra hours making the bacon. And what's that one Dolly Parton song about? Well, she has the 9 to 5. Oh, there's also a Reba McEntire song about working moms. So I'm not a working mother, but I feel like, you know what? I get it now.
Yep, that's all it took. It took Josh one job promotion, and now he's a working mother. That's all it took.
Yes, I am.
But congrats on that. That's awesome.
Listen, I cook and clean. Thank you.
Yeah.
And happy
that's
birthday,
honestly,
by the way.
that's all there is to being a mother is just cooking and cleaning. I mean, it's really,
it's
I don't know why people make such a big deal
As a
about
single man, that seems to be all it is.
Oh gosh. All right, Jonny, save us before we say anything else. How was your week? What's up?
My goodness. I hope your moms aren't listening to this podcast. Shoot.
Yeah, dang.
Oh goodness. This is the time of year where it's the month leading up to week 0 of college football. And yes, there's a week 0 because college football is absurd. And this is the month leading up to, I am watching replayed games on YouTube TV. So thank you, YouTube TV. Shout out to you for letting me have unlimited DVR space and can watch all the games from the previous year. So, watching up, of course, watching the opponents of my Buckeyes for the coming year, like Notre Dame, got to check in on them, see what's going on, who's returning, Marcus Freeman coming back, checking in on those Alabama games I might not have been able to watch during the year, kind of see what's going on there, take a more deeper dive into that Georgia offense, because the offense is going to have to carry the team this year. Looking at even players like Jordan Addison, who's transferring from Pitt and going over to USC, just taking a closer look at him, how I think he'll fit in over there with Lincoln Riley at USC. So it's a good time of the year just to kind of refamiliarize myself with who's returning, what team they're on now, with college football being the way it is, and just get a better sense of what's coming up with college football season. Get myself excited for it.
Yeah, I'm putting together college football previews right now, and I can tell you that is an extremely difficult task. Like, even just the quarterback position, that alone, like trying to remember where all these players are. Like, you have Max Johnson, who played for LSU. He's going to not only the same conference, the same division with Texas A&M. I mean, it is a mess. It's a mess, but it's a fun mess, and it'll be a great season, and we're looking forward to it, and it's just around the corner. What's even closer, guys, is NFL football on Thursday. Josh, you're invited too, but obviously, as you stated, you are in Dallas, so it's a little bit of a commute. But I invited Jonny over on Thursday. We've got the Hall of Fame game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Las Vegas Raiders. I invited Jonny. I'm like, hey, you want to come over and watch just horrendous preseason football? So that's what I'm planning on doing on Thursday. So looking forward to that. Anyways, but that kind of guides us into our conversation, our debate, maybe, because this is what we're doing. We have all constructed a list of who we think are the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL heading into the 2022 season. Now, we have not shared this list with one another. Unlike our picks of the week, where we routinely cheat off of one another, we have not done that here. We have kept our lists to ourselves. So this will be a surprise, and we can debate and disagree, and we'll see what happens. So I
would like to make a quick note.
Yes.
When we say notes, listed is just Aaron and Jonny. I do not feel like I am qualified to give a top 10 list because my number one has and always will be Mark Sanchez.
Yes.
And it took me it took me like 30 weeks to realize that it was not top 10 instead of top 10. And so at an early age, I just believed, this is the best quarterback ever.
Right.
Every Friday night on that top 10 list.
Yep.
But so I am very, very biased towards Mark Sanchez, even though he retired 4 years ago.
That's unfortunate.
But I will provide helpful commentary and hopefully I don't know. My goal is to make these guys hate each other by the end of this podcast.
There you go. Sounds good. All right, Jonny, do you want to go first? Should I go first? We haven't really talked about this.
I'll go first.
All right. Let's hear it.
All right.
Starting with 10, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Starting with 10.
Yeah,
so
10 will work your way
10,
up. Yes.
Number 10 for me is Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson, if you watched this last year and actually followed the NFL through the whole season, the Ravens were actually the 1 seed going into week 14. Despite cluster injuries, Lamar Jackson was still playing at that time. When he went down against the Browns, the season was done. Yeah. It was over. They weren't going to be able to recover from that. Expect the Ravens, especially with the last place schedule, to really rebound. Lamar's never going to be a pure passer. He's never going to be a beautiful thrower of the football. At the same time, when he does throw it, it looks effortless and a flick of the wrist. He's just so unique and special with his running ability and elusiveness coming out of the backfield there. He just makes things happen. He already has a league MVP. He's phenomenal. Number 9, I have Justin Herbert.
Oh, interesting.
And honestly, it's probably a little too, in some senses, it's still too high. I know some people have Justin Herbert higher than that. It's still too early because he hasn't led his team to the playoffs. And you need to be able to lead your team to the playoffs really to be in the top 10. So I'm being a little hypocritical there. But he has every single tool and ability you would ever want in a quarterback. Seems like a leader, somebody who's not going to get into any trouble for the team. He has a cannon for an arm, 4.0 biology student from Oregon. This dude is smart as can be. They held him back in college, and he looked fantastic in his first couple years. So I'm excited to see more Justin Herbert as they fill out that roster. But the Chargers always seem to screw up good things, finding ways to do so. So we'll see. Number 8, I have Derek Carr. That's kind of a hot take, probably. I have Derek Carr because this man, while he doesn't have those physical traits I just mentioned with Justin Herbert. He wins. He wins games. He leads his team to victory at the end of games. He knows how to drive down the field at the end. I mean, he had every excuse in the world this last year for that Raider team to just implode with what happened with Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett and John Gruden, interim head coach. They just moved to Vegas. It's the first year with any fans. Every excuse in the book. And they were a few yards away from taking out the Bengals in the wild card. Mad respect for Derek Carr. He just has that innate quality. It's almost just, he's not Tom Brady, but he has just a glimpse of that. Just a glimpse of, wow, like your physical traits don't show me this, but somehow you find a way to make it happen. I really appreciate that about him. Number 7, Joe Burrow. So, my guy, Joe Burrow, he beat Derek Carr. He has made the playoffs, unlike Justin Herbert. That's why he gets the edge there. He's made it all the way to the Super Bowl with that horrendous offensive line. Joe's honestly similar to Derek in some of those ways, where his physical abilities, they're like, good. They're good. Like he doesn't have a cannon, though. He's not the biggest guy. He's not small. He's mobile, but he's not the fastest. He just has enough all around him, like all around game. But it's more of his intangibles, his aura almost. I mean, the Bengals organization just hasn't felt the same since he arrived there. He has that leadership quality, that swagger that he can push the team. And he proved last year that down the field throwing is not an issue. He just needed a weapon to actually give the ball to down there. So Joe Burrow, I mean, that's going to be a fun battle in the division with him and Lamar and DeShaun Jackson here for the next few years. Just above him, I have Aaron Rodgers at number 6. And so I have Aaron Rodgers. I know that's low for a lot of people. A lot of people have Aaron Rodgers at like number 1, number 2. Listen, he is a regular season quarterback, though. And I don't think at this point it's being ridiculous to state that anymore. If we're going to equate it to NBA terms, he's starting to remind me of James Harden, basically. He's fantastic in the regular season. He makes all the throws, spectacular plays, and then he gets to the postseason and he plays it safe. And he evaporates when his team actually needs him. 2 years ago, should have been able to knock out the Buccaneers at home. Tom Brady had a really bad game, and he couldn't even take him out then. This last year against the 49ers at home, he scores 1 touchdown in the first half. You didn't need much from him to beat the 49ers, and he couldn't make it happen. So I have him at 6. And I think he could keep dropping down this list very, very quickly partially because of the off field. He doesn't seem that interested at times. Number 5, I have the Super Bowl winner, Matt Stafford. This is a huge leap up from probably what had been last year, but with legitimate pieces around him, he proved that he can make all the throws possible. He can lead his team to victory. He was trailing from behind in the Super Bowl. That's why he's ahead of Joe Burrow. They won the game. Like, he proved that he belongs among the elite quarterbacks. You just kind of think what could have been with him. Number 4, this is probably a little bit of a hot take too. I have Russell Wilson at number 4. I like Russell Wilson a lot more than most people. The Seahawks were atrocious last year. Awful. You know why? Russell didn't play. The number of games I've watched in the last 5-6 years, especially, where Pete Carroll's like, no, we're running the ball for 3 quarters. Then the Seahawks are down 10 points going into the 4th and say, Russ, please save us. And he does. Incredible. And has as good as the NFC West has been over the last 4 or 5 years. Russell Wilson and that Seahawks team, 12-4, 11-5, every single year, battling for first place in that division. Just outstanding. I think he's going to be fantastic in Denver. I think Denver probably wins that division this year. I expect Russell to be just absolutely phenomenal. Number 3, I have Tom Brady. And again, at his age, he shouldn't be number 3 even. It feels almost disrespectful to put him at 3.
Yeah.
But I do think he did retire this year. I think we are finally seeing the end of Tom in the league. I don't think it's crazy to see it kind of stay down a little bit as far as his production numbers, which will still be outstanding, especially at his age, and absolutely incredible. But I have him at number 3. Number 2, I have Josh Allen.
Yep.
again, we talked physical traits with Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. Gosh, that man could take someone's head off with the ball if they're not watching. So he just has an absolute mortar right there on his arm. He, in all intents and purposes, might have even outdueled Patrick Mahomes in that playoff game. He just didn't win the coin toss. Yeah. And that's why I have number 1. I have Patrick Mahomes. These two I almost see as interchangeable. Both of them have moments where you're like, what is wrong with them? But their highs are so much higher than anyone else in the entire league, as you saw in that playoff game, which was why it was so spectacular. They both were on at the same time, and that's so rare to see. And they were making every single throw. And even when you saw wide receivers wide open, it was because they were looking off defenders and knew exactly what the defense was doing at that time. They've both grown so much, and despite maybe seeing an off game or two out of them during the regular season, there's nobody else I'd rather have on my team at their A game than those two guys. And so I have a hard time with the two, but Pat's won a Super Bowl, so he gets the number 1 nod here.
I like it. That's a good list. So again, I want to say that we did not share our lists with one another. And I have to say because we have pretty darn similar lists here. We've got some slight variations.
I'm trying to make you guys argue.
I know. Well, I'll give my list, and then we'll try to argue the two things that we're different on. At number 10, Jonny, like you, I have Lamar Jackson. He's coming off an injury-plagued season. I honestly, if we were doing this last year, Lamar Jackson starts higher, but the Ravens season was kind of a disaster from start to finish, and just in terms of their injuries. Like, they were down to their 3rd-string running back before they'd even taken a snap. So that was horrible. He needs a rebound season. He was not great. He had almost as many interceptions as touchdowns last year. But let's be honest, Jonny, all of those players you named in the top 5, and honestly the entire list of the top 10, Lamar Jackson has not had the talent surrounding him that most of those guys have had, I would argue. So I think he's number 10. He's got to be a little bit bigger in big games. Hopefully he gets a chance this year. Obviously, the Ravens should be right in the mix for that AFC North title. Number 9, I have Derek Carr. I'm right there with you. I'm big on Carr this season. I am big on the Raiders this season. And look, even if you disagree, he just inherited the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion, in Devontae Adams. He already has a stellar tight end. He's got some other weapons around him that are great. And he's showing that even at 31, he's getting better. And now that he's got all these weapons, I think he's only going to get better. Still, he's got a decent defense behind him. I'm expecting the Raiders to have a really good year, and I'm expecting Carr to be the main reason for that. Just for example, in his career, 31,000 yards passing, and 2021 showed some signs of stardom. I'm expecting that to continue. Number 8, I have Russell Wilson. I cannot put him at 4 considering the injury. I know it's kind of a fluke thing. It was a finger. It's not like an ACL. It's not like an ankle. He's still, even though he's older, relatively elusive. He escapes out of the pocket and makes magic happen. He still has one of the prettiest deep balls in the entire game. But I need him to show me that he can put together a full season healthy. And I do think Denver will be a good change of scenery. I know there's lots of people that are thinking it's going to do the opposite, where he's going to struggle in a tough division. But Jonny, you said it. The NFC West has been the toughest division in football for a while, it feels like. And that really didn't slow him down. And yeah, you said it. When he left, Seahawks, real bad. Real bad. So now he's got a good opportunity. I expect him to make some things happen in Denver. And I love Russell Wilson, so that's also an easy add to this list. Number 7, I have Matt Stafford. I know that feels a little low. Coming from a Detroit Lions fan, coming out of the Super Bowl victory that Matt Stafford had. Now, spoiler alert, I've got Joe Burrow above Matt Stafford, and that might seem crazy because, as you mentioned, Jonny, Matt Stafford did beat Joe Burrow. I'm of the mindset that if you swap Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford, the Rams still win that game. So to me, I'm not taking that into as much consideration. And let's be honest, Stafford is incredible at times, Hall of Fame level. He makes throws that are just insane. The no-look passes he had in the Super Bowl, just out of this world. But he's still, now he mostly got away with it in this postseason. He still makes some bad mistakes, even as old as he is, as much of a veteran as he is. 17 interceptions last year. That was a lot of interceptions. So at times, it's a little rough, but overall, Matt Stafford, I think he could be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's number 7 on my list. Number 6 is Justin Herbert. And I can honestly be talked into switching Matt Stafford and Justin Herbert, but I've got Herbert. You said it. He's got a cannon, makes incredibly difficult throws. Guys, he's also 6'6", 236. I mean, this man is built. He's not a runner like Josh Allen is, but he's mobile. He can get out of tight situations. He's not going to take a ton of hits, and even if he does, he's big enough to withstand them. I'm a big Justin Herbert guy. You're right, the Chargers find a way to ruin their postseason. Don't even get me started with that. Number 5, Joe Burrow. And here's why I've got him this high, and I honestly thought about putting him higher. This man last year threw for 4,600 yards, 34 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, behind one of the worst offensive lines in football, if not the worst. It was horrible. Got sacked over 60 times last season and still did what he did, still guided that team to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl. Jonny, you said it. It's his charisma. It's his leadership. When you have the nicknames like Joe Cool and Joe Shiesty and Joe Burr, like you've got like multiple nicknames and you're 2 years into the league, you've got something going right. And he does. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league. I think with a better offensive line could be scary with Jamar Chase also in just his second year in the league. So Joe Burrow's number 5. Number 4, Tom Brady. You're right. It almost feels disrespectful not to put Tom Brady number 1. He's number 1 in the grand scheme of things. Overall, the undeniable GOAT, he's number 1. Even last year, 44 years old, he's now 45. He led the league in passing yards with 5,316 at 44 years old. I mean, that is insane. Now, obviously, really, really good weapons around him, but what he's doing is insane. You would think a 44-year-old wouldn't be able to throw the ball at all, kind of like what we saw from Ben Roethlisberger the last couple of years. That has not been the case. Every once in a while, he will pull out the deep ball, and he will thread the needle and make great passes. It's just insane. I'm curious if there's going to be any drop-off or any changes with Todd Bowles at head coach, instead of Bruce Arians. I doubt it, because let's be honest, who's really running the offense? It's Tom Brady. I think we all know that. So I'm not expecting a huge drop-off, but that's just something to consider. Number 3, I do have Aaron Rodgers. Jonny, I agree with all of your points. Complete failures in the postseason as of late. If you look at the stats blow you away. 37 touchdowns to 4 interceptions last year. He's the back-to-back MVP, and those stats are a big reason why. I can't ignore that. His regular seasons are just insane. But he's number 3, and I thought about putting him at number 4 because of those postseason woes, because of the off-field drama. Does he care? I don't know. Now he's without Devontae Adams. And so maybe he falls farther on this list next year, because there could be a big drop-off if the weapons around him, what little there are, don't come to fruition. So we'll see. So maybe 3 is generous, but I just can't look past the regular season stats. They're that good. Number 2, and same thing. I've been going back and forth. Number 2 is Patrick Mahomes for me.
Oh.
And this is one thing that I flipped like 20 minutes before the show. I was thinking about this, Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. I went Patrick Mahomes. And there's a couple reasons why. Last year had a career-high 13 turnovers. Now, part of that was his defense was bad. He was put in some bad situations last year where he felt like he had to be the hero and make these impossible throws, which, by the way, he does on a routine basis, but he didn't get away with it as often in the early part of last year. Now, that kind of got corrected. The defense got better. You saw Patrick Mahomes then start playing better. So his talent is just insane. I don't think I need to talk too much about how good Patrick Mahomes is, but let's think about this. Tyreek Hill is gone. He's gone to the Dolphins. Now, some people have said this may give Patrick Mahomes the opportunity to be better with perhaps a wider variety, better depth at wide receiver. They grabbed Valdez-Scantling. They grabbed Juju Smith-Schuster. So we'll see how those pieces plug in and play with Mahomes. But I think the Tyreek Hill thing, because of how big of an explosive threat he was, the Chiefs were top 3 in the last 3 years in explosive plays. I'm not saying they can't replicate that, but it's hard to do that without Tyreek Hill. So for that reason, I'm saying Patrick Mahomes, number 2, and Josh Allen is my number 1 quarterback. And yes, what a matchup, those two going head-to-head. If the coin flip goes to the Bills, they win that game. I don't think anyone doubts that. Guys, the only quarterback in his first 4 years to throw 100 touchdowns, to rush for 30, is Josh Allen. It's scary how good Josh Allen is. I was worried coming into this year that he wouldn't be able to withstand the hits. But guys, at 6'5", 240, he's not having an issue with that. If anything, the Bills have had to pull him off of his own defensive ends in practice because he'll just go up to them and start trash talking them, and then they get in a shoving match. Like, I love that about Josh Allen. That's amazing. Last year, 4,407 yards passing, 36 touchdowns. And by the way, his 6.25 yards per carry was second in the NFL, and that's including every running back in the NFL, was second. He's getting better and better each year. His rookie year, and this was a criticism against him in college, his accuracy, 52.8%. That is bad. That was his rookie year. Second year, 58.8. 2020, 69.2. He has gotten rapidly better. And with Stephon Diggs there, I love Josh Allen. He's my MVP for sure this year. I know Patrick Mahomes has the Super Bowl. That's a good point. If I'm debating between the two, that is a very good reason, I'll admit, to put Patrick Mahomes number one. But I love Josh Allen, and I think he's going to be out for revenge, and the Bills are probably my Super Bowl pick going into this year. So that's my list.
They should be.
Yeah. That's my list.
Complaints, omissions.
Yeah, your Dak Prescott, Dallas's favorite Dak Prescott, not on either of our lists.
Yeah. The entirety of Dallas is currently. That's why all the doors were banging earlier, is because all of the Dallas fans knew that you weren't going to have Dak Prescott on. Listen, I agree.
Yeah,
I will say, I know it's early, but someone who interests me is Mac Jones out of the Patriots. And it took a few weeks for him to warm up, but their playoff run was something that none of us expected, except for me. I called it. You can go back to the podcast. I did call it.
That is true.
And I think under the coaching of Belichick, I think that is a very compelling, maybe dark horse candidate that could do some things. It's a disappointment to see the Patriots win. Of course, I grew up watching them win. And so it's nice to see other teams try and do that too. But for me, that's an interesting dark horse candidate that I'm keeping my eye on, just to see if he can continue to build on what was started last year. But let's see. I did take notes. I did take lots of notes. I'm a good grad school student.
I can't believe, Johnny, we were so close though. That's crazy to me.
That's scary close.
It is crazy. I guess I would say like 11, I probably had Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
At 12, I probably have Dak Prescott. And 13 is probably DeShaun Watson. DeShaun's kind of the wild card because he hasn't played in a year. So I kind of have to see him play. Like when you don't play an entire season, I have a hard time placing you really anywhere. But, Lamar and Kyler are close, but they both struggled in the back half of years and in meaningful games. But Lamar has an MVP and has at least, made the playoffs multiple times and has won a game at least.
And probably studies film.
So I have to give him at least that. Dak deserves to be right there too. Just Dak's a grown up.
Yep.
And for all the one thing that you see it's funny in our top 10 list, you see the mix of some of them are just so over the top talented and gifted. And then you also have guys like I'm going to be honest, like Tom Brady, like Joe Burrow, Derek Carr are just the type of guys. They are just gym rats. They love studying film and they just have those leadership capabilities. And that's where you just have to remember that it's the mix of both. Yep. And that's Aaron, you have Aaron Rodgers, I believe, at 3. And I have him at 6. And the reason I do is because he lacks those leadership qualities. Because there's absolutely no reason with his talent and all his skills that he has as a quarterback that the Packers not only have only won one Super Bowl, they've only been to one Super Bowl with him. Yeah. That's absolutely inexcusable. And I don't want to hear excuses about the defense. I don't want to hear excuses about them not drafting wide receivers. Is that reality? Sure. But I also just saw Joe Burrow go with no offensive line basically to the Super Bowl this year.
Almost tears ACL again.
Wow,
yeah,
right.
Now, way to bring that up, Josh. I meant to say that that year for Joe Burrow was also coming off a torn ACL. That's insane. Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's with Aaron Rodgers, I just can't put him higher because what you mentioned with Joe, Aaron, and that's why you put him ahead of Stafford. That's the exact same reason I had a huge problem with Aaron Rodgers getting the MVP this last year. With Devontae Adams? With Devontae, I watched one of his games in person. He doesn't want to throw to anyone except Devontae. I think I don't think the Packers will win the division this year. I think the Vikings probably take it away from him this year. He doesn't trust anyone on the roster except Alan Lazard to throw the ball to. Valdez-Scantling's even gone.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, he had wide receivers wide open, wouldn't give him the ball. He'd force it into triple team to Devontae Adams. Maybe you'd argue Devontae being gone is almost helpful for him. I disagree.
I would not argue that.
Yeah, exactly. Because maybe he'll actually look at other wide receivers. Aaron doesn't get along with young players.
Yeah.
He is prickly, like just personality wise, doesn't get along with people. He's wildly talented. I mean, that's why we're talking about him. But to be in that division, to constantly have that win total.
Yeah.
And the Packers, while they don't spend huge money, are well run. There's no excuse for them to be where they've been and not getting to the Super Bowl again with Aaron Rodgers. And I can't really forgive that. And that's where I have like Derek Carr hopping into the top 10 because of the chaos around him. Mm-hmm. I think what is happening around you in your environment matters. And Aaron, the only chaotic part of Green Bay is him.
Yeah. Well, and he's 38. Aaron Rodgers is 38. Now, we're spoiled because we have Tom Brady, who's playing MVP caliber football at 45. We have to remind ourselves that is not normal. 38 should be close to the end of your career, and maybe it is for Aaron Rodgers, probably within the next 2 or 3 years. But and there hasn't been a steep decline, obviously, for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, again, 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 4,115 yards passing. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. The fact that the Packers have had the 1 seed as many times as they have in the playoffs, but you're right, Johnny, have failed to get to the Super Bowl. And obviously the Packers are not without blame. It would be interesting if they actually drafted a wide receiver in the first round, if they actually gave him a little bit better talent around him, then yeah, maybe that's the difference between a Super Bowl appearance and not one. But that's not what happened, and that's not the debate we're having. We're just, as it is, top 10 quarterbacks. So, Josh, I feel like your Mark Sanchez idea is so good because I think we could expand to, as fun as that was to talk about, like the 10 worst quarterbacks would be fun. But like not really like good. worst. Like Mark Sanchez went to an AFC Championship game.
No, great, yeah.
Like Blake Bortles makes that list, and maybe is at the also, top of that list.
Anyone who makes it to the NFL. It's
exactly.
The same as like people who like pick up basketball with an NBA player and like, well, you never play, so you must suck. No, he will trash you.
Yeah.
And if he played a full game on you, would drop 50 on your head.
Yeah.
So be quiet and sit down. Like they're much better than you. So worst is like worst of the best,
right?
If you will.
Oh, absolutely.
Nathan Peterman has to take the cake there, guys.
You're right. Yeah. Honestly, just name a Browns quarterback in the last 25 years.
I was going to say.
Probably not name Baker Mayfield, and you've got a winner. So, Brandon Weeden. Oof.
Oh, gosh.
Anyways, I'm not going to actually, I said that would be fun. Then I'm naming off all these people that will definitely not be on our podcast now. So maybe we should
we need to keep them in good graces.
Yeah.
Mark who? I don't have a list.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's my genuine list. I think you're a great quarterback.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. Well, we have to. I feel like
speaking of show tunes, apparently was on The Masked Singer when I was looking up his Wikipedia page.
Mark Sanchez,
yeah, big musical theater guy.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
okay, yeah, that's good to know. Very good.
That's fun.
I think that adds to your list. Like Josh, that's just another bullet.
It's you and I can do it all.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well rounded.
He went to did an AFC Championship, but then he hosted the Tonys.
Oh,
so like. That's
right.
I mean, how else?
Josh,
like,
I don't think he can be on the list. Like he also like one. I think just AFC Championship game probably has to count for something.
Yeah,
and like the man's talented.
Talented. No, I think he had.
Ohio State.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not high on. Oh gosh, don't remind me.
But not Oregon State. So
that's true.
Listen, I was never high on Rex Ryan, so I think he was.
Yeah, fair.
Not taken advantage of, but definitely not given the best opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyone who can literally become a meme as intensely as Mark Sanchez, and then literally like anytime he gets onto a new team, the first interview question is usually, "Hey, what about that butt fumble?" And he laughs it off with such this like chill vibe. I'm like, honestly, mad respects. Like,
Yeah.
I think I would crawl into a hole if I was mocked on Sports Center every Friday for 40 weeks straight. I would move to Siberia and never talk to anyone again. And he was like, you know what? Maybe one of these days I'll laugh about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of wanting to move to Siberia, what we're about to talk about will probably want to make us move to Siberia. But I feel like it's a conversation we probably should have, just because it's the biggest news headline. It's not really what we want to be the biggest news headline, but it is DeShaun Jackson. I said DeShaun Jackson. That is not.
You did.
It's because Johnny, you said it earlier, I think, without realizing it. And
did I?
now it's stuck in my head. Yeah, you did. Future Aaron will not be able to edit that out. He's just going to leave it in. But now you know, now you listeners know that we are aware of kind of some of the mistakes we make. DeShaun Watson, that's the name.
What's the sport? We're good. We got
Yeah, right sport,
this.
wrong position. Anyways, so DeShaun Watson. We've talked about this kind of over the last couple weeks because we've kind of been in limbo, wondering when the suspension is going to be handed out. We kind of heard last night that it was going to be in last night, meaning Sunday night. We're recording on a Monday that we would find out Monday morning what the suspension would be, and it's 6 games. And I think most people, and I don't want to offend people, but I'm going to go ahead and say most rational people, I think that 6 games is far too little. Now, part of the nuance to this is that you just had Calvin Ridley get suspended for a year for betting on sports, for betting on his own team while he was on the injured list, not playing. Now, to be fair, part of the weird scenario here is that is very much against the NFL rules. Like that's the most obviously spelled out rule in the NFL handbook, if you will. Do not bet on games.
He did tweet out about it multiple times.
Yes. So I'm not saying what he got was not deserved. But when you're looking at a guy that bet $1,000 on his own team, gets a year suspension, and then DeShaun Watson, who has all of these allegations and all of this really, really bad stuff, gets 6 games, it just kind of leaves you scratching your head.
6 games and no fine. It's just 6 games without
Correct.
pay because they're saying that he did not technically violate the league's personal conduct policy, which seems
they said
wild.
he did and he didn't, and
Right.
that's kind of the issue here.
Yeah.
What you said, Aaron, is like important too. Calvin Ridley got like the whole season, 17 games for betting. Like other precedents here, like Vontaze Burfict, 12 games for targeting. DeAndre Hopkins is suspended the first 6 games this year for PEDs. Like you've had just so many guys suspended for weed and substance abuses indefinitely, or whole seasons, or half a seasons, and that is more spelled out specifically in league policy, at least for what those like rulings are. There's not really a disciplinary hearing for those situations. It's just like, no, you're a first-time offender, this is the punishment. You're a second-time offender, this is the punishment. However, not to compare wrongs, if you will, but many of those things seem rather light compared to, the abuse of women. And therefore, that is why you see the public opinion and most NFL fans and most general citizens not content with what the punishment was. When it, this, like Aaron said, it's not an easy thing to be talking about, and we don't know all of the absolute facts. But what we do know is that he had 60 up to at least a minimum 66 different massage therapists over 17 months. Talking to other NFL players, that's not normal.
No.
They have 2, maybe 3, and most of them are connected to the team. DeShaun's looking for him on Instagram. If you read the court hearing from the judge, who was third party and able to review everything, some of the details make you even more grossed out and just feel worse about the situation. Legally, I understand why you can't convict him, but he did have to settle in all of these cases. And I have a hard time believing that there's a conspiracy of 66 different people and 25 different people accusing him.
Yeah.
I have a hard time rationalizing in my head that there's a vast conspiracy there for that to happen. It feels like the NFL at times, and this is where the NFL seems to be really, really good about pivoting and changing and making things really well. They continually botch disciplinary action on their players. And part of it, and our judge even really laid it out here, is the NFL doesn't have any policy written out for this still. They still have no policy. And she is a former federal judge who went off precedent. And the precedent is 6 games from like Ezekiel Elliott and 6 games from Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
But those are one person accusations, and that doesn't make it any more okay. Don't hear that. But compared to 22, the numbers keep bouncing around there, 22 to 25. I don't understand how that can be seen as the same thing. And I feel like we're lumping them all together just because they've happened in a relatively short, condensed period of time. What would you think about that if it happened over a 5-year period and it was still 22 to 25 people? He has a problem. More than anything, I hope he gets some help. I hope the people he's affected get help because he needs help. I mean, in the conviction, he's not allowed to get massages from anyone other than a Browns staff member. Doesn't that kind of say it all?
Yeah. That
you can't trust a grown adult to get a massage on his own? So I'm disappointed. Now the NFL can still, Roger Goodell gets the last say in this. This might be far from over depending on what Goodell and the league would like to do. But I think everybody kind of is left with a really bad taste in their mouth today. Just hoping and expecting, my expectation was a minimum 10, 12 games, hoping really for a season, because it partially needs to come down is that it's unacceptable for anyone in the league.
Yeah.
And if it's any sort of deterrent from this sort of behavior, it's worth the while, even if it seems overly harsh at times, which I would argue it wouldn't be whatsoever, because this is a game and he's affected people's lives.
Yeah, I just saw a report from Steve Wyke, reporter for the NFL Network. He went out to the practice field today and got a ton of cheers from fans. And I think that's one of the things. And we don't have to, again, like I said last week, you're not here. You're here to hear us talk about sports, not about this. But when the sports overtake the personal life choices of people and you get so concerned, and when fans in general, and we've all fallen prey to that. I'm not trying to paint myself as being completely, I'm a Steelers fan. I've had to deal with this. When sports become such a high priority that you're willing to take whoever and whatever baggage they're coming with. And I'd say the DeShaun Watson stuff is a lot more than just baggage, but let's just say baggage for now. Yeah. Like, if you're willing to put up with that because of your desire to win, like, again, legally, they've not convicted him. Doesn't pass the eye test, though. Yeah. And that's when it's like,
right,
are you so? And I would hope that the Steelers, if something were to happen again like this, would say, hey, our desire to win is never more important than our desire to make sure that we're not enabling someone to be dangerous to other members of the community.
Yeah. The thing, yeah. There's so many thoughts in my head. I think one of the ickiest things about all of this is what the Browns did with his contract.
Yeah.
He's getting a big contract from the Cleveland Browns. But the Browns, knowing that the suspension was coming, paid him $1 million of a large contract just this season. So that way, his 6-game suspension, he's losing $300,000, which for him is nothing. It's nothing. Now, that is not the biggest issue here. Let me be clear about that. That is not the biggest issue here, but it goes hand in hand with what you're saying. When DeShaun Watson walks out into the practice field, he's being cheered by Cleveland Browns fans. Why? Because this quarterback, who they've been so desperately seeking for the last forever,
Yeah.
is here, and he's going to get to play, in theory, 11 of the 17 games this season, as long as Roger Goodell or whatever ends up happening. If it's 6 at 6 games, I struggle with that too. And again, we're not trying to focus too much on this because I know every single major sports news outlet is covering this probably over the top. But the reality is this is a significant situation with a quarterback who, as we gave you our top 10 list, would have been in the top 10 in all of our lists if you kind of ignore this situation, if you ignore the fact that he did not play last year. By the way, for everyone saying, oh, well, he didn't play last year, so that should count as a suspension. Yeah, he chose not to play for Houston, the franchise, and got paid handsomely for the entire year. That is not a suspension. So let's throw that argument out the window right away.
Quit a week. Everybody would quit a year of work and still get paid their salary if you gave them the option. Who among us would not take a year off of work and get paid?
Yeah.
Like, even if you enjoy your job, you wouldn't take a year off?
Yeah. Or
knowing
just
that it would still be there when you get back?
Right. Yeah. So I don't
like.
Yeah,
And
I don't know.
Aaron, what you said is absolutely right too. And like, guys, I think one of the more frustrating things today is the apologists. And I know and this is not like, I don't want to hammer Browns fans because every single team has had players with baggage.
I could list a ton of other
this.
teams that like
every team has something
there.
like that.
We'd be doing the same conversation.
Right. Don't hear me as a hypocrite. The Bengals have had some real sketchy dudes on their team, as has every team in the NFL, because if you're really good at football, you have a place in the league. We've learned that over and over and over again. However, with the salary, everyone's like, well, the Browns do that. They have a big signing bonus and then give them a small contract right up front and then push the money later on. And I'm like, right, but the whole deal is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So it really didn't matter when he was going to get the money. You did that very purposefully. So I don't want to hear that garbage argument either. The garbage argument about, well, he was basically suspended last year. No. And he wasn't on the commissioner's exempt list either.
Correct.
So I don't want to hear that either.
Yep.
He could have technically played if he wanted to. Personally,
the NFL made it very clear they were not going to make a decision until the legal process was done.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And I'm hoping the NFL adds on games.
Yep.
I know the NFLPA and DeShaun Watson have basically said they'd sue him in federal court if they do. I've never wanted a court case, and I don't want it to drag on either, guys, but I also want the right thing to happen.
Yeah.
I hope it does.
I do too, because you know what the NFL is going to do come October? They're going to bring out their pink ribbons and, you know, all the guys with their headbands and whatever, all this pink stuff, which is not, I'm not saying that's bad, but the NFL is going to come out with a strong statement saying we are for women. Well, which one is it? Because here's your opportunity to choose. You can't just settle for a 6-game suspension and then roll out in October and say, "Yeah, we're for women." That doesn't fly.
Watson.
Yeah,
you're going to give him pink. You're going to give him pink gear in October.
Yeah,
and
when he comes back, right? Yeah, exactly, Josh. When he comes back from the suspension, yeah, exactly.
And no one's going to believe you.
Yeah,
right. Show us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't just say it. Like, show it with your actions that you care. This is a large portion of your fan base. And it's the fastest growing portion of your fan base.
Yeah.
Yes.
Show them they actually matter. Show them that you actually care.
And
this
I think
is your opportunity to do so.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's worth us talking about it. Not that we're bringing anything to the conversation, not that we're solving anything, but I think it's worth mentioning because it impacts every aspect of sports. Yes, it's kind of politics-ish, which we do truly try and stay away from on this show because we know it's a divisive thing. But this is so important because you're right. It's the foundation of an entire fan base. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to grow your sport, how do you basically just ignore women? That's bad marketing. I can tell you that as a business major, that is dumb. That is bad. Don't do that. So, which we're going to talk about a very, very good story on the other side, which I'm very excited to talk about. And that's probably where we should move next. I'll wrap us up here. The point of this story is, I think it's our frustrations with hypocritical fans. Like, if you're a Browns fan, that's fine. Again, we're not trying to blame you, but at least be honest about the situation. At least be honest about it. And so I think that's where our frustrations are coming in from this. Partly it hits a little closer to home because we're in Ohio. Like, I have previously had no ill will towards the Browns. I don't feel the same way anymore. I'll just be honest with you. I don't really want them to do well this season. Josh, that was easy for you already, but
I was gonna say, all three of us definitely in Ohio currently.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyways, there's not a great place to wrap up that conversation, but at least that kind of maybe gets some stuff off our chest, if nothing else. Thanks for listening. And hopefully, I don't know. We try to be reasonable. We try to think things through well. So hopefully we've done that. But that's kind of our thoughts.
This is the one time we promised not to be arbitrary and capricious.
Yeah, that is true. So I felt like a conversation that should be had, that should be at least addressed. So we will move on from there. So that wraps that up. I did mention, guys, and I'm excited about this, as bad as the football will be, we do have football on Thursday. Yes, we get the Jags, we get the Raiders from Canton, Ohio on Thursday, and that will take us into our picks of the week. Guys, I'm sad. The Crew and Charlotte, that's who we picked last week. They got rained out. Super lame. So that was what we picked. So who knows if we were right. So that means our standings.
Whenever it's rescheduled, we're going to have a random extra point.
Yeah, will that game be rescheduled this year?
It'll be rescheduled. Probably won't be until September, though, just because there's only 4 games in September. Both are in the playoff hunt, so that added game could actually be wild.
Very fun. All right, so the standing, I'll have to dig through our show notes from past episodes to find that when it's finally time to dig that out. But it does mean our current standings, myself with 37 points, Jonny with 36, Josh with 35. And we are, of course, picking that Jags-Raiders game. I'm going to pick the Jags. It just feels right. We'll see if they win more preseason games than they win regular season games. I think they'll be slightly better this year. I think they're going to get like 5 or 6 wins, but they won't be good. But it's preseason, so who cares? But the Jags.
Yeah, I'm going Raiders.
Okay.
Just because they're not putting any starters out there, but you know what? It's Vegas. You never know.
Yep.
They're not playing in Vegas, but if they would.
For Josh's reasons is why I'm picking the Jags. Starters will play longer. Trevor Lawrence will be in there longer. They have to work a lot of things out.
Yep.
And it's the first preseason game. So I expect them to actually play some decent minutes. It's preseason, though. Very hard to predict.
Yeah. An extra preseason game for both those teams, I believe, unless they get a bye week. I don't think they do. I think they just get an extra game. So, anyways.
Oh, fun. Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
I know they'll love that.
Well, you're right, Johnny. The Jags probably legitimately need that. So, all right. Well, that'll be fun. I'm excited. I mean, Johnny, you said it like in the beginning. We're starved for football. We're watching past game film. So, it'll be fun, even if it's completely meaningless and probably horrible to watch. It's fun to at least have some live football going on. All right. That does take us to what we're following. I could go into mine in more detail. I will not, because of course, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Cincinnati Reds, who dealt their all-star pitcher in Luis Castillo. Now, the trade honestly was not a surprise. His name was in the trade rumors for the last few weeks. It kind of had a rough start to the season, but really started catching on. And in terms of his ability to be traded, he benefited by having a couple really good starts right before the All-Star game, one of them against the Yankees. So that had some extra publicity just because they were playing New York. It sounded like a bunch of teams were in the running for Luis Castillo. It ended up being the Seattle Mariners who won, I guess, the Luis Castillo sweepstakes. And guys, I'm excited that the Reds got 3 of the 5 best Seattle Mariners prospects. That's really good. The farm system actually that the Reds are building is not horrible. But I took to Twitter this week because I was just a little salty that all these Reds fans are like, oh, guys, the rebuild, it's starting. Like, we're coming now. We're building a farm system. I'm like, guys, we have been rebuilding since 2010. There's not been a Reds playoff series win in my lifetime. What have the Reds shown you that makes you think this is going to be any different? Do they know how to build? Now, they're making better steps than I've seen in the past. Usually, Castillo would be traded for a bag of rocks. So at least they got some good prospects and did some good things. And they're continuing to make some moves. Tommy Pham, I saw, got traded to, I believe, the Boston Red Sox.
Correct.
And I haven't seen, that literally just happened about an hour ago before we went live. So I have not seen what the Reds have gotten in return. I'm not sure that's actually been announced yet. But they're going to continue to make moves. There may even be a market for Tyler Mahle out there. I should mention, too, the trade deadline is on Tuesday, so you're seeing a lot of moves. The Braves locked up Austin Riley for what I think is a bargain, a 10-year, like $220 million deal. There's a bunch of stuff happening. The Red Sox are actively selling. They're calling their season done. The Brewers traded Josh Hader, their really really good all-star closer to the San Diego
Crazy.
Padres. That was shocking. The Yankees are getting even better. They added a couple pitchers from the Athletics. So all of that to say,
Astros got better.
Yeah,
Did
the
you see
Astros,
they got
yes.
Mancini from the Orioles,
Yep.
and they got Vasquez. Poor Vasquez. I feel like this happens every year where
yeah,
the two teams are playing each other and you just swap dugouts. But
yeah, that's got to be so weird. That's got to be so weird. So my overall point, though, is that Reds fans, I'm glad some of you are excited. I am just deeply pessimistic because this franchise has shown me nothing but disappointment. I would love to be wrong. My fear is that by the time all those prospects get to the major leagues in like 25, 26, the Reds will be then selling off Tyler Mahle or Jonathan India or Tyler Stevenson or Hunter Green. And then they'll say, oh, look at this rebuild. Look at all these great prospects we're getting. And we'll just be stuck here in eternity. Because here's the deal. And I'm serious about this. If we're in this situation 3 years later where this is happening, where Jonathan India, Rookie of the Year last year, he's being sold off, like all these players are going away, getting traded for prospects, the Reds will be closer to relocation than they will be to a postseason playoff berth. And I believe that. If we're in this situation 3 years later, assuming the attendance stays where it is, bottom 5 in the league, the Reds, and I know that's crazy because they're the original franchise, they've been around for longer than 150 years, they will be closer to relocation. I truly believe that. I hope I'm wrong in all of that. I hope the Reds build a franchise organically, and even despite being a small market, they can have a couple good seasons. But I'll believe it when I see it for the Reds. So that's kind of my takeaway from what they're doing the trade deadline. Yes, these pieces had to be made. Again, impressed with what they got back for Castillo. That was one of the best trades in Reds, in the last few years that I can think of from the Reds. But
I'm just glad he didn't go to the Yankees.
that too,
So
I was so afraid. I was afraid the
Everyone
Yankees
go
were
to
going
the Mariners.
Yeah.
All the Reds fans.
The Seattle Reds, guys.
Cheer on the Mariners. Yes, cheer on the Mariners.
As a Lions fan, how did I end up in a situation where I'm a Detroit Rams fan, kind of, not really anymore, and now a Seattle Reds fan? Like, I'm so confused. So, anyways, but that's kind of my takeaways, just overall
Pittsburgh Rays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. By the way, Reds not last in the division. Thank goodness for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're my second favorite team because they find a way, dang it, to be worse than the Reds.
Hey, the Cubs are right there too. The Reds are
true.
coming for that third place spot.
Yep. A week from Thursday is the Field of Dreams game, by the way, between the Reds and the Cubs. So keep that on your radar. Actually,
for third place.
Remind me, that's what we'll pick next week for picks of the week, by the way. Reds, Cubs, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
All right, I'm done. Sorry, guys.
No, listen, hey, if they relocate, our mayor has been talking for at least a year about Dallas this is something that I could be
How
following.
dare you try to steal another one of our teams?
Yeah.
Get out of here, Texas.
Listen, Dallas is the largest metro area without two major.
The Rangers
like
are
that.
close enough. Come on. They just
They're
built
an
a brand
army.
new
No,
team.
that's one. What about two? What about New York? What about Chicago? What about LA?
You can have the White Sox.
NFL
then.
too.
Yeah, you can have the
White
Angels.
Sox. No one goes to the White Sox or Angels games anyway.
Yeah.
You can have them.
Oh boy, what I'm actually following, and I feel like it's good to talk about on this day.
Okay.
We're talking about quarterbacks and Tom Brady easily being the GOAT. I mean, he himself has 7 titles. He's been to the AFC Championship, I think,
Many
honestly,
times.
many times. I
Yes.
want to say 20 plus at this point.
Mhm.
I will tell you, though, his stats, garbage compared to the true GOATs.
Oh, no.
I'm talking any sports, any league,
Oh, no.
any competition.
Is this an actual GOAT?
No, that'd be great, though. That actually would be really funny. No, I'm talking about my good friend. Hold on, I lost the article.
Oh, no.
I lost the article. Give me a sec. Where was it?
This is a real GOAT, isn't it? He ate it.
Where'd it
He
go?
ate the article.
I have like 7 articles on this guy. Here it is. Got him. Don't worry, we're back. Our good friends and fellow Ohioan,
Oh,
Alan Francis. Alan Francis from Defiance, Ohio.
okay.
We love it.
Yep.
The World Horseshoe Champion.
Wow.
He has won the World Horseshoe Champion 26 times. He won in 1989, 1993, consecutively from 95 to 99, 01,
Oh, my gosh.
2003 to 2010 consecutively, 2012 to 2019 consecutively, and then 2021, 2022 back-to-backs. His next competitor, Ted Allen, love that guy.
Yeah.
He has only 10 championships.
What a loser.
So imagine imagine if Tom Brady had 7 rings and literally everybody else had 1. Additionally, this bad boy he's the only player. Now, this is from the National Horseshoe Pitchers Association of America. So this is their official stat.
Of course.
He's the only player to consistently pitch over 90%. I don't know what that means. However, that doesn't matter.
I'm nodding like I do. Yeah.
That is incredible. Whatever it is, that's an incredible. Whatever that stat might be is fantastic. And so, like, we've talked about the dominance, and especially now with Federer and Nadal, we've talked about, I mean, in F1, I know Johnny doesn't want it to be a sport, but you talk about Lewis Hamilton's dominance. You want to talk about NASCAR, and you want to talk about the Earnhardt dynasty or Jimmy Johnson, like their dominance, or the MJ LeBron debate. I will tell you, my guy is Alan Francis. Also, who else has been that dominant for, what is that, 1, 2, was that 4 decades technically, 89 to 2022?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, like,
Is horseshoes a contact sport, Josh?
it can be.
Only if you play it badly. Johnny, you should know by now,
his pitch
anything is a
percentage is
contact sport if you try hard enough.
Yes. Listen, I will tell you, he makes it not a contact sport. Did I not tell you his pitch consistency is 90%?
Dude, that's
I'm
pretty
assuming
good.
that it hits. I'm assuming that means it hits the ring.
We're not
Like, there's,
sure
like,
what
little
that
post.
is.
I'm assuming it means he's hitting the post thing. That, like, the actual, like, bar.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Sure.
Okay. So the only thing I got to check now is I got to check those cornhole leagues, and make sure I got to check their governing body and make sure that everything's on the up and up there. Because otherwise, I think we found our new goats. And he's in Ohio, and so we don't have to worry about Brady being from that place that we don't really talk about. Even though you married into that. Sorry.
Yeah, I did.
That's on you.
Yeah. It is. You're right.
Tom's not even from there. He's from California, so it doesn't count.
Of course. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for enlightening us on that great sport.
Very welcome.
That's amazing. All right, Johnny, over to you.
Very welcome.
So what I'm following this week, and have been following really for the last month, is the Women's Euro Cup or European Championships. If you guys remember last year, we talked a ton about the Men's Euro Cup just because that had been moved with COVID and everything. And so this is just the Women's Championships. So unique about this year and some fantastic stats, just showing the growth of the game truly has been really, really cool. So the final just occurred yesterday, being Sunday afternoon. It was hosted in England, record crowds throughout the entire tournament. The final crowd actually set Wembley Stadium record with 87,192 in their audience. So fantastic. Now that's of course just a sellout. It'll be broken. But all that to say, like, this was a fantastic showcase for the women. It was world-class soccer. And you could tell that those in attendance appreciated that and were selling out the stadiums. And many of them that they had placed originally in smaller stadiums, they honestly probably could have put in some of the larger football stadiums in England, which was just fantastic to see. The growth of the game, it's exploded 5 times over in the last 10 years, which is just awesome. Clubs in Europe, you know, if you follow soccer at all, you know that Arsenal and Manchester City and Barcelona and Real Madrid and all of these big European clubs have now joined in and formed women's teams of their own and actually really been financing them well and resourcing them well and growing the game better in that on that stage, which has been just so good. You know, once you have the draw and these teams start playing in the group stage, UEFA and FIFA have no say in how the bracket ends up being. It couldn't have turned out any better for them, where you had, you know, very few big time upsets in the group stage that knocked out the teams that you really wanted to move forward. defending champs, the Netherlands, made it through deep into the tournament. Sweden, who's a perennial, made it into the semifinals before they got knocked out by England. You had, you love seeing Austria and Germany get to play each other. That happened in the quarters. That's fantastic. Germany played France in a 2-1 game in the semifinals. That's great. England had to go to extra time to take out Spain in their own quarterfinal survival. Of course, the final having Germany and host nation England was going to draw a massive crowd. Of course, that helps. Yes, of course. But the fan base was into it. It was just fantastic setting and scene. England winning put it over the top, but it was a fantastic match. Again, just great soccer if you watch the game. One thing that I'll get off my soapbox here after I mention is, the ladies don't roll around on the ground like they've been shot in the leg every time they get fallen. So, fellas, I would really appreciate if you got off your butt once you've been fouled. I understand you've been fouled. Get up. The Germans especially were going in low and hard on those tackles, and the English got right back up, and they gave it right back to them. But they're not writhing around on the ground like they've been shot. So I appreciated that, honestly, in the game. It looked like a pure form of soccer. Germany probably outperformed England overall in the game. And I truly think being at home and the crowd kind of pushed them over the top against the run of play. Toon got a nice chipper on a beautiful pass across the goal. Germany scored, really looked like they were going to be able to find a way to win that game in extra time. And just off a corner, madness scrambling around in the box. You have Chloe Kelly just toe poke that ball in extra time in the 110th minute. Couldn't have asked for a better finish for the tournament. Great job by UEFA and by England in hosting that tournament. It's really cool to see soccer grow. It's really cool to see women's sports continue to grow and be supported. Honestly, I had more fun watching that than I've had watching a lot of men's games recently. So just a great product on the field. And England, welcome to having a better women's national team than your men's. So welcome to the club.
Yeah. Welcome to the club. Jonny, thank you for that, because that truly was an amazing tournament. That, just awesome to see. This time next year, the 2023 Women's World Cup, New Zealand, Australia are hosting it. Awesome. This time next year, we will be in the group stage, or actually kind of wrapping up the group stage there. So that's very exciting, because I think the momentum that you're seeing here, I think you're going to see some of that translate over to the World Cup, which is just awesome. So love to see it. So thanks for bringing that story, especially after everything else going on today. I think that's needed and very welcome. So yeah, appreciate that. All right, guys, I think that's it. I think we covered everything we want to cover. So important takeaways for those that skipped to the end inexplicably, just to hear the last 5 minutes of the show. What you missed is we determined, I get it too, for sure. Mark Sanchez, the best quarterback in the NFL. That's what you missed. That was basically the biggest takeaway. And this, and the week 0 preseason football game, that's the most important game just ever. So that just overanalyze that thing to death, because that for sure will work out for you. So yeah. All right. We will be back next week. Guys, I'm excited. We've got a new segment coming up next week that I think you all guys are really going to enjoy. Excited to debut that next week. Hopefully, I'm not going to put too much pressure in case it doesn't work out, but I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to be awesome. So looking forward to that next week. And we'll see you guys then. We'll have some actual football to talk about. So looking forward to it. We'll see you guys then. Have a good week. All right, YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys. We will we'll see you guys just around. I always say next week, which is true for live streaming, but hoping to put some videos up there. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.